Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. Joyce, we have so much to talk about, a ton of emails still. It's slugfests at goldderby.com, but we're going to start with our first award nominations of the season yesterday on Tuesday.
The Gotham Awards.
Well, I couldn't wait to see these Gotham Awards, Joyce. I was so excited.
No budget cap.
So they moved the budget cap off. It used to be 35 million and under.
Yeah, it was raised to 35 last year, right? Because of like COVID stuff. It kept going up.
It kept going up. Now it's gone.
Now completely gone. So are we really recognizing independent cinema?
Independent is a state of mind, Joyce.
Okay.
So I knew it was going to be a great Gotham Awards because they've been releasing like their tribute stuff, and it was Maestro.
Yeah. Rustin, Air.
Rustin and Air. I was like, okay, so this is what it is now. Got it. Understood. Ben Affleck getting a Trailblazer Award and Bradley getting something for Leonard Bernstein, I think, right? Or whatever. Like it was like some visionary award.
There's always like two adjectives in these tribute names, you know? I don't know.
I actually want to look.
It's like a cinema, like virtuoso something. It's something like that.
Bradley Cooper will receive the Cultural Icon and Creator Tribute for Maestro.
Sure.
And Ben Affleck will receive the inaugural Visionary Icon and Creator Tribute.
Great. What is Rustin getting?
Rustin, let me see. You'll hear that playing. Let's see. This article doesn't have the Rustin one, but let me look in the actual the Gotham Awards. There it is. George C. Wolfe gets the Icon and Creator Tribute for Social Justice.
Love a social justice award.
It's the best.
Didn't like the VMAs introduce like a music video for like social change or something a couple years ago?
I think so. It's a great time. So that was what we started with, and then the nominees yesterday. If people are watching this online or watching this, it's a very small jury, and there a bunch of film Twitter elites.
Every category has a different jury. 5 people.
And there's 5 people, and they're mostly people you follow on Twitter. So that's like that's what the world is for this. So if you're using this to like judge any kind of, I don't know, future awards prospects,
that's why there is not a lot of consistency across categories, because it's 5 different people. Well, I shouldn't say 5 different people per category, but like per field. Like it's the same jury for the acting awards in film. Like
best feature and best screenplay were one group.
Yeah.
Best performance and supporting performance and breakthrough performer were another group.
But there's no breakthrough performer category anymore. So they didn't
read the press release. So that they didn't fix the press release, Joyce.
Oh, God. Let me edit that for you guys next time.
And like I said, these are all people you follow on Twitter. And while they're not all the same, there is obviously groupthink or like osmosis, because like all of us.
Oh yeah, I mean, like if you follow them on Twitter, then you would know like what people like and stuff.
And
like
all these people talk, and there's always going to be a groupthink and a consensus forming. So while like I personally was like, oh, we could go through the nominees here, but I was like, oh, Reality getting in for best feature, that's pretty cool. Love that movie, but no Sydney Sweeney in outstanding lead performance. The groupthink did not connect there, it felt like, but like All the Strangers did really well as an option as well.
It's a different 5-person non-com.
So the nominees here, I guess I'll just read them off, but I don't think it really, like we said, it doesn't. It's fun to talk about because it's the first thing. It's the first
set of nominations of the season, but not really impactful in the overall scheme of things. And especially, we didn't say this before, but with the removal of the budget cap, several films, I mean, more than several, but like that we know of, a lot of like actual big budget films did not submit themselves, like Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon. They did not submit here.
Yeah, Oppenheimer, Kills the Flower Moon, Color Purple, and The Iron Claw and Napoleon were whispered about on background as not being submitted.
Those are the only ones we know definitely did not submit.
So Barbie submitted.
And got in.
For Ryan Gosling.
It's a Gotham nominee.
All the Strangers had 4 nominations, led the pack, and then Past Lives and 1001, which is the type of movie that I think the Gotham Awards were originally probably created to uplift, and an indie film that has lost maybe some or been lost in the shuffle, now getting like a renewed boost. So that's always nice. And like if I personally am always like, oh, if they win and it's like a nice moment and it could go viral here, whatever it is will help. But it doesn't always help if it doesn't go viral. Like last year, Danielle Deadweiler won lead performance, but wasn't there. And people mostly didn't pay that much attention to it, right? I guess.
I mean, I don't even think that the virality, is that even a word, of it matters. It's like it's like film Twitter is excited in the moment, but then you just move on to the next thing. So
it's nice to have a video with the excitement, though. That's all I'd say. So Past Lives in this. So Best Feature was Passages, Past Lives, Reality, Showing Up, and 1001.
Good list. And I think most of these films were from the first half of the year.
Yes.
Are they like the SAG Awards?
Maybe. The
Of
committee,
early birds?
The committee who voted for this included Justin Chang from the LA Times, K. Austin Collins, who used to be at Rolling Stone, Jessica Kiang, who's freelance, does it a lot, Claudia Puig, and Alison Wilmore. So this is the group that decided on that.
I think Past Lives will win.
I also think Past Lives will win. We don't have to go through our predictions, but that one seems like tailor-made
like just
for
this lineup and everything.
Past Lives win. If you're wondering where All of Us Strangers is, it's actually an international feature. Sure. With Anatomy of a Fall, Poor Things, Totem, and The Zone of Interest. Very strong category.
Also very Anglo-centric.
Yeah. You know, like international for Poor Things. Yeah, it was made internationally, I guess. So
do you think Poor Things or All of Us Strangers has the edge here?
I actually put Zone of Interest. I actually put Zone of Interest in first. I think any of these could really win, though. I guess All of Us Strangers would make sense because it had the most nominations.
It's their fave, based on the numbers.
But I actually also think that, like, when push comes to shove, people are going to think, what is the international? Like, these are not, they're international, but they're not international. You know what I mean?
Again, very Anglo-centric.
Yeah. So I feel like Zone of Interest maybe would have the edge, but who knows? Documentary we could do quickly: 20 Days in Maripol, Against the Tide, Apollonia, Four Daughters, and Our Body. Can't say I've watched a lot of those yet, Joyce.
Same, but
there's no directing award, but there is a breakthrough director award presented by Cadillac. So does the winner get a Cadillac?
What other categories are sponsored?
So far, just this one. I wonder if the winner gets a caddy. That would be pretty cool. Raven Jackson for All Dirt Roads, Taste of Salt. Georgia Oakley for Blue Jean. Michelle Garza Cervera for Hiswera. Celine Song for Past Lives. And A.D. Rockwell for 1001. Seems like another one tailor-made for Past Lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially because Celine didn't get into screenplay.
Correct. Were you surprised? So I don't think there's any such thing as snubs.
No, because it's a different.
And again, it is a different group.
Yeah.
Who did this, which was a different nominating committee, including Lindsay Barr and David Sims, a lot of the top film Twitter names. No Core Jefferson, though American Fiction was eligible.
And nominated elsewhere.
So, but also, like you said, nothing connects because it's all different groups. So what are you going to do? Screenplay, not sponsored. All of Us Strangers, Anatomy of a Fall, May, December, RMN, and The Zone of Interest. This is a fun category.
Yeah, a strong category. I love the May, December nom for Sammy Birch.
I still have May, December, and Sammy in for an Oscar nom. I think it's the only place it will end up showing up, but I really think it could.
Yeah, I think that, and I guess supporting actor for Charles Melton are its strongest possibilities, but I don't have either of them in. So
we'll get to Charles Melton in a second because that supporting category is very fun. They do gender neutral here, Joyce, so it's all one. Yeah,
it's been like that for 2 years, right? They started 2 years ago, I think.
10 nominees.
So many.
For lead. Anjanae Ellis Taylor for for Origin. Neon's a Netflix show. This is released by Neon. Lily Gladstone for The Unknown Country, Joyce.
Because Kills a Flower Moon, not submitted.
But we still got her in. It's just weird. It's fun how it works out like that.
This is like when they nominated Colin Farrell for After Yang last year. instead of Banshees.
It's fun when it happens that way.
Yeah.
Totally. It seems totally random, I guess. Greta Lee for
I
Past
haven't
Lives.
seen that movie, but I have heard that she's very good in it.
I'm sure
but
she's
I don't
good.
expect her to be bad, so.
No, she's a great actress.
Mhm.
Greta Lee for Past Lives. Franz Rogowski for Passages. Babetita Sajo for Our Father the Devil. Andrew Scott for All of Us Strangers. Kaylee Spaney for Priscilla. Tiana Taylor for 1001. Michelle Williams for Showing Up. And Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction.
Yeah, overall, pretty great lineup.
Looks like pretty great. I love all of this. I didn't really know who to pick to win.
I can see Greta winning or Andrew.
Based on their way the movies were performed, it feels like yes, right? How does the voting work, Joyce? I didn't care to look this up. Does everyone vote, or is it the same thing?
It's a panel. It's
panel.
still like a comm. So I think when but like during the broadcast, like when it's streamed, they show the names of like
I past me from 24 hours ago has Lily Gladstone first. So
I don't think she would actually win.
She's in second in the odds.
You know what? I'm sure some people just moved her over thinking it was Killers of Flower Moon. So
I have her first, Jeffrey Wright and Andrew Scott, and then Greta Lee. But I think any of them could actually win, including Lily Gladstone.
Well, yeah, like you said last year, Danielle Detweiler win, beating both Michelle Yeoh and Cate Blanchett.
Right. The reason I actually think Lily could win is I was thinking of that, even though Till was like obviously like a bigger movie than The Unknown Country. But I also was like, it is a very indie-minded movie, right? You know what I mean? Like, it again, to the core of what the Gothams are for, I feel like it's actually not silly or that she was nominated for this, right? Even if that maybe she would have been nominated for Flower Moon were it there.
But I think, like, I don't think she would win for it. It's like the nomination is the reward
maybe
for it. So I just feel like there's other people here who are not on the performance, but just like overall like equally as strong, or if not stronger. So like I could also see like Haley winning.
I was thinking Tiana Taylor actually could win too.
Yeah.
Supporting performance, again, gender neutral. 10. Juliette Binoche for The Taste of Things. Penelope Cruz for Ferrari. Jamie Foxx for They Cloned Tyrone, which is actually an inspired nomination because while I don't think the movie is very good, Jamie Foxx is hilarious in that movie. He's so good. Claire Foy for All of Us Strangers, which is a great, very observant and smart nomination by that committee, I feel like. Ryan Gosling for Barbie, Glenn Howerton for Blackberry, Sandra Huller for The Zone of Interest, Rachel McAdams for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, Charles Melton for May December, and Devon Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. It's a really fun list.
Yeah, love the Claire Foy nom. She's great in the movie.
McAdams and Gosling together again.
You know, it's been a really big week for The Notebook.
Yeah.
So
would love to see that happen and them get to go. Though I don't anticipate that'll be a reality based on how the SAG strike is going. It just seems like we're not really going to make any kind of deals. Maybe before 25.
I can also see Ryan just not going.
I could see Ryan not going, but if he has a chance to reunite with Rachel, maybe he would.
I don't think he cares about that. So yeah, so Sandra got in here for Zone and not in lead for Anatomy of a Fall.
It's an interesting performance. I really, like I said, it's like just repellent, which I think is a good testament to how good she is, right? Because you're just like really do not like this person.
Well, they're Nazis.
Yeah. But I mean, you like she really like is like, yeah, she's like a real
yeah, it's a good performance. I think she's better in Anatomy of a Fall.
I still see people predicting her for supporting
yeah, I think we've talked about this before and how like people are predicting her in supporting, perhaps because lead is so crowded, so it's like easier for them to justify that way. Like you can take care of her in supporting and then put like your faves in lead.
Yeah, it's not impossible. I took her out for lead. I don't have her in for supporting, but I'm like, I'd like to. I mean, so it's not a completely.
But my hesitation, like, I'm not surprised she got in here for Gotham, but like with the Oscars, like the performance in Zone, like overall, like none of the performances in Zone, while very good, are very like actorly, you know? So
Will
like
there
there's
be a
like
lot of
no close-ups of anyone.
well, that I mean, that's why I think like a really interesting part of the filmmaking. But I'm also like, are people
Yeah.
going to be passionate about her enough to get her in for that?
Yeah, and then again, like she's just the, focus, the center of Anatomy of a Fall. So I mean, I could see her missing for that too at the Oscars, but I think that's like her stronger play
So
than here.
So looking at this list, the traditional Oscar faves are like Devon Joy Randolph and Gosling, neither of whom I think would win here.
I don't even, I put Charles. I think I have Charles winning.
I think Charles could win also. And I have him winning as well. I have Claire in second.
Me too. But that's kind of like a Hope Diction, but not really, because they did love that movie so much. But I love that performance so much.
It's a great performance. I think if you like the movie, you're watching that movie, you're gonna love her performance. She's like
she's my favorite performance in that movie.
Joyce, would you say she's the heart and soul of the movie?
I would say she and Jamie.
Yeah, they're the heart and soul.
Yeah.
The Heart and Soul is like the little movie with the big heart.
So Heart and Soul is the complete opposite of the banality of evil, which is what we used to describe Zone of Interest.
Yes. There's also banality.
And then the white people in Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of banality of evil with De Niro and stuff. And I have Devon and Joy Randolph in third. And I really want to put Rachel McAdams in fourth because I think, while I don't think she will win, it feels like this is the kind of...
I think she can win. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if she won.
Right. So I have her in fourth.
So interestingly, since they've expanded, to 10 because of gender neutral, only dudes have won this category, because it was Troy Kotzer.
Right.
2 years ago, and Kiki Kwan last year. And then in lead, I think it was a tie 2 years ago, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it was Olivia and Frankie Faison.
So this year, only 4 guys out of 10 for supporting actor, if I'm reading it right, and 3 male actors for lead, versus 7 women.
Yeah, I mean, I could see most of the supporting nominees winning. Like, I could see Glenn Howerton winning.
It's a really competitive category, and if a lot of these, again, this means nothing in the grand scope of Oscars, but it would be nice to get some of these performances back on the radar or on the radar. So that's always helpful.
Yeah. Well, that's also the thing, because it's like this show was born out of, recognizing independent cinema and putting a spotlight on these films that have usually flown under the radar. And now with the removal of the cap, it feels like, these like bigger films can come in and just use this to like kickstart Oscar momentum.
I think that's true, but I also think that removing the cap is nice, but unless they start adding like a broader range of people to nominate, they're not going to have to really worry about that.
No, like I didn't expect, based on the films that did not submit, I didn't expect them. I didn't expect like Barbie, to like dominate this or whatever, but like, I'm not surprised that Ryan Gosling got in for Barbie.
I'm not surprised Ryan Gosling got in either, because of like whatever with Barbie in the film Twitter circles. It's cool to be able to. It's cool to like Ryan in the movie, so it's of course he would get in.
Yeah, he's the fave.
But it's not like cool probably to, or it's not as cool to like the movie, as it were. So.
It's also it's not, it wouldn't be cool to nominate for Best Feature, but it's cool to nominate him,
right,
for his performance.
There's also a kind of detachment, I feel like, which is like, I think people think like the movie's incredibly popular. I love it. I know a lot of people love it, so I'm not like saying like people don't love it, but I do think there is like kind of a lot of people maybe are like, it's fine, but like Ryan is like kind of making fun of it, so it's cool to like him in it, right? Like he's not taking it as seriously, but meanwhile, that's why it's so funny because he is taking it so seriously, and he's actually fully on board with the whole thing. But I think
It's a
you could
great
read it as the
performance.
other way, and like that's easy for you to be like above it all and like too cool for school on the movie, but you're able to like him. So I'm
Yeah,
not
like
surprised he got in.
it was like there was so much expectation on that performance too. And remember, like, some people did not like his casting either, like a small minority, but still, like, people thought he was too old
Yes, I remember.
at like 41 years old to play him, and
Get
he
him.
crushed it. And it's just like, it's like cool to stand that performance.
Get him a
And
Viking funeral for being so old, Joyce.
I know.
Out to sea. What else we got here? Do you want to do the TV ones quickly? They lost the break, even though it's listed as a nominating committee. There is no
Well, yeah,
breakthrough
they
performer.
in film they got rid of the breakthrough performer category, which is rude because that would have been a great place for Milo Machado Greener from Anatomy of the Fall to
Feels
get
like they
in.
would have put him in.
Yeah,
Would they have gone Charles Melton breakthrough?
no, because he's not a breakthrough.
Breakthrough series under 40 minutes, Beef, High School, I'm a Virgo, Rain Dogs, Swarm.
I think Beef would.
I thought Beef too, but I could see one of these other ones winning because again, it's like too mainstream. Beef is not.
So you don't have The Last of Us, the independent TV show The Last of Us, winning breakthrough series over 40.
No, I don't. No. I actually have telemarketers winning that. It's Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire, Dead Ringers, The English, The Last of Us, A Small Light, and telemarketers.
I don't know what I have, but I think I have Interview with the Vampire second.
Yeah, I have telemarketers winning because I just think that's again a perfect Gotham. That's like in the ethos of the Gothams. And then outstanding performance in a new series. Jacob Anderson for Interview with a Vampire, Dominique Fishback for Swarm, Jarrell Jerome for I'm a Virgo, Natasha Lyonne for Poker Face, Belle Powley for A Small Light, Bella Ramsey for indie show The Last of Us, Chase Gay Spencer for The English, Rachel Weisz for Dead Ringers, Ali Wong, and Stephen Yeun for Beef.
I have Dominique. Yeah, I have Last of Us. So I have Last of Us, Beef, and Dominique.
Nice.
Yeah, because I don't think they really ascribe to the independence aspect of it as much on the TV side. Like Squid Game won this, so
right,
and like Watchmen, so
right. And there you have it. That's the Gotham Awards, I guess. Right, that's it. Oh no, breakthrough series. Oh yeah, okay, that we did that one.
Yeah,
short form, long form. That's it. Well, great. Can't wait. When are the Gotham Awards, Joyce? Do we know?
in a month.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
I look forward to looking at it watching along on Twitter and seeing what the videos are like.
Yeah, remember Michelle Williams' speech last year? She was there. She got a tribute last year.
It is possible that this could happen with the actual actors. So some of these people definitely have waivers, like Kaylee Spader.
Well, yeah, like A24.
Sandra Huller could be there. Mm-hmm. Anjanae Ellis could be there. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these people actually could be there. I guess the only ones who wouldn't be would be like Andrew Scott.
Anyone from a studio.
Tiana Taylor, which is kind of like silly that wouldn't have a waiver because it was bought by Focus, but sure. Jeffrey Wright. Yeah, so some of these people could show up.
Yeah, they're still negotiating. So
yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath based on the reporting.
Like I said, they basically have like the end of the month to really knock it out. So
there's a couple of movies come out this week for the real people in limited release. People could see them. Stuff we've been talking about for a while. The Holdovers.
Yeah, limited this Friday, the 27th, and then when is it wide? I think it's the 10th, right?
Yeah. I gotta say, more and more people seeing the Holdovers, and more people texting me personally and saying how much they love the Holdovers.
Yeah, everyone I know, which is not a lot, like personally, who's seen it, loves it. I liked it, but like these people love it way more than I did.
By merely liking it, which I also agree with. I liked it. I enjoyed watching it, and
It's a good, solid movie. It's a great Christmas movie about lonely people, and I love lonely Christmas movies.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say it's like a solid B to me. But that makes me feel like a jerk off because people love it and they're just telling me how much great it is and how it's an A plus.
Oh no, I don't care if I'm the dissenting opinion.
It's good, and I'll be curious to see how people. I think it could do pretty. I don't even know anymore, but I'm like the movie. I think people would see it. I think people would actually see it if they know it exists. They will go see it. And while it's a limited release now, I think as it rolls out throughout November, more people would want to go see it.
Yeah, like it is. It's a like we said, it's a boomer movie. It's a dad movie
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways. And it is like a holiday movie. It takes place over Christmas. So, and it is like heartfelt, I would say. Like the end is really moving, I think, and great performances by the trio, Paul Giamatti, Dominic Sessa, Devine, Joy Randolph. I feel like we haven't talked about Dominic Sessa a lot, like this whole time. He's really great in the movie.
I think he's really good. It reminds me of like I keep thinking of like Lucas Hedges in Manchester. I think
Yeah, that's the comp that everyone uses for him to get in.
Definitely in that area code.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it's also it's a co-lead performance.
Yeah. I think Lucas is like I enjoyed Lucas more, but I think Dominic is quite good in the movie.
I mean, they're different performances, but it's like that same general vibe of this like young up and coming actor in their first like big movie with like a big role, you know. So
I think Paul is like a real strong shot at getting in, though I still have him out, but I think it's just a tight.
Oh, you didn't make any changes to your actor lineup this week?
No, I kept Leo in after seeing Flower Moon for a third time, which we could talk about when we do our emails. Yeah, I think people really like it. I would say like we talked about it. I think we had an email from Beth last week, and then she was commenting as well how it's been like the boomer movie. I love that I kind of love that Alexander Payne has leaned into the boomer aspect of like kind of out there complaining about how long movies are and like complaining about they don't make movies like this anymore and then blaming the writers for not making movies like this anymore. It feels like he's got his audience down cold. Feels like it'll be that's an effective tool, I think, to get people who are like, get off my lawn excited for this.
I also love how completely, as expected, misinterpreted his comments about the length of movies was, because he wasn't actually talking about the actual minutes, like the length, the runtime. He was talking about pacing of a movie.
Sure.
But obviously that's not what people are going to highlight in their headlines and tweets. And then no one's going to click to actually read what he actually said.
So I will say, I think he knew exactly what he was saying, especially.
Oh yeah, no, but like, I think.
So, like well, he didn't mention Flower Moon. I know he was talking about Flower Moon.
Oh yeah, but like he's talking about pacing if you actually read what he said.
Yeah.
So.
But he could have said that in his initial comment, I would say. But I think it's great that he's doing that right down the middle for boomers. I feel like it's just a great idea. I think the movie's gonna do really well.
Like this is like a little over 2 hours. So
I never once thought it was too long, and I was like, oh, it just feels like it's a regular movie. I will say, like, a couple of people I saw texting me, and they were like, and I think this will be your mileage may vary, and maybe this will tell you right away whether you're like, I'm gonna love this movie, or I will merely like it, like Chris and Joyce. I had multiple people be like, when I saw at the beginning, this is not a spoiler, and we'll talk about spoilers in a little bit too. This is not a spoiler, but at the beginning of the movie, there's it's shot on like film, and it looks like a movie that was released in the 70s. That's like the whole gag of the movie.
The trailer, yeah.
And there's a Focus Features logo designed to look like a movie studio logo would look in the 70s. Focus Features did not exist in the 1970s. So it's just completely fabricated, like kind of, thing. And multiple people, I'm like, oh, I love that so much. And when I saw it, I was like, it's not real. So it's not like seeing the Warner Brothers. It's not like when Soderbergh like does the old Warner Brothers studio logo on his movies. So I didn't particularly find that something that really grabbed me, but others love that kind of fabrication. And if you do, I think you would like, if that sounds like something you would find amusing, then this movie will probably be one of your faves of the year. Otherwise, it might just be one of your many good movies you see in a good movie year.
I mean, that anachronism, I guess you would call it, did not bump me because that's just been their whole marketing for the movie,
Yeah.
right? It's this throwback 1970 look.
Yeah.
Like the font and everything, just that's the whole vibe of the movie. So that didn't bother me that
we talked about like obviously like the movies I think pretty safe for Best Picture. I feel like it's a top 6 at the very least to me. I don't have Alexander Payne in for Best Director, but I would not be surprised if he got in based on his history. I don't have Paul Giamatti in for Best Actor, but I would not be surprised based on the category. I think Devon Joy Randolph could actually win Supporting Actress, though I haven't predicted yet. Screenplay, it feels like it could win or at least get nominated. That's 5 nominations, right? Right there, or 4 or 5? 5.
What that you have?
No,
I
that it could.
have
That
both
it's
of
like
those.
no, that it like legitimately could get in at least. You know what I mean? Like 5 right there. And then I think we haven't talked about other categories, but I do think it could be competitive in things like
It
makeup,
could get into
honestly,
editing.
and editing, and even cinematography. So I think it'll be like a major. It could be like a major factor with like 7-8 nominations.
I think I still currently have it winning 2 with Davine and screenplay.
So yeah, I think it's going to do really well. I think it could be, if you look at the movies that are coming out from like a ticket sales perspective, if you're going out to the movies on Thanksgiving, your options are going to be like Next Goal Wins with the fam, Napoleon with dad, Wish with the kids, but nothing with the whole family except for the Holdovers, I would say. So I think it could do really well once it comes out.
It's the mid-range adult drama.
Yeah.
That like everyone could watch. So.
Yeah. Do you think Dominic could get in somewhere?
I don't have him in, but I think he can. I think I like briefly flirted with him at the Globes before dispensing him for Charles.
I kind of, it's completely apples to oranges, but I do kind of wonder if Charles being a factor in the season hurts Dominic at all. I don't know. But I think since they're both younger men in a category that is dominated by,
I mean, Dominic is like what,
veterans.
19, 20, Charles is 32.
Yeah, but they're compared to who's in the category, they're like children.
I know, but you make it sound like they're the same age and they're not the same age.
I know. And Charles Melton, like we said, is like a real actor who's done stuff, and this is Dominic's first performance, basically. So it's not totally comparable, but I do wonder if it kind of hurts having them both in the race. I don't know if it does. And I think Dominic would have a leg up because the movie's a bigger Best Picture contender. So
yeah, I can see the Holdovers. I guess you would say overperforming because I don't think he's in. Where is he? He's not in the top 5. So if it overperforms, then I think all 3, the central 3, would get in. Just like Manchester by the Sea, all 3 of them got in.
What do you think at SAG? Do you think it could get in for ensemble?
Who do I have at SAG? I haven't looked at SAG, and I don't think I have it there because it's like 3 of them. That's like my hang up with SAG. Let me see. I do not have them in at SAG. I have Paul and Davine.
I just have Davine, but I might go back to Paul as well. But
all 3-time SAG Award winner individually, plus Sideways cast. I'm still like, I don't know, not to go off topic, but I still don't know if I should keep Flower Moon in like SAG Ensemble because it's like the main 3, it's like the same thing. But then like all the bid players who wouldn't actually, be part of the official nomination and win the statuette if they win, like they're, like you could argue like they're like the best parts of the movie almost, like or especially the most like engaging, entertaining parts, like these bit players, not the famous people in Flower Moon. But still like it's like the main 3 that generally
I have Flower Moon in, and I actually think everything you said is right, and factually those people will not get nominated. It's kind of like people are not going to not think about them when they're thinking of the ensemble.
Yeah, so it's just like I still have it in, but I could also just see it being, getting like the 3 individual noms and not making ensemble for something more ensemble.
I could see that, but I also think if you love the movie enough to put the 3 of them in, and you're like, I'm into this ensemble so much, and then you sit down and you're like, wait, I'm voting, and I'm not voting for John Ramsey or, whatever the guy, Ty Mitchell or Tommy Schultz or, Cara Jade Myers or whatever. You're not gonna not vote for it. You know what I mean? Like, I just think they're gonna it's
No,
like
but like
ensemble's the
we've
ensemble.
obviously had cases where it's like, like The Favorite didn't get into ensemble. It got the individual nominations, and obviously there were other actors besides three ladies.
I guess I would argue this is actually much more of an ensemble movie than The Favorite is. If you watch the movie, it's way more of the group, even though
there's more like the bit parts.
And the bit parts, because it's so long, have a lot of runway to flourish. There's like multiple scenes with some of these people who don't have their own title cards.
And it's just very rude because some of them should be a part of the official nomination.
I think that's just a silly rule myself. So I wish they would change it, because it's just is like kind of dumb.
Yeah, and it also just depends on like your status and your clout, and if you have a good agent.
So I think it should just be like, the ensemble is the ensemble. Give out, what are we giving out? Certificates, awards? They can make up more awards. Who cares? Make up 50 awards.
I think it should just be like everyone, if it's like title cards, it should be the cast that's in the title cards.
Yeah, sure. Even that.
So
it's a dumb rule.
It's the same thing with Oppenheimer, it's just 9 people. So
dumb rule. So that's the Holdovers. The other one coming out in limited release is one of my faves of the year, Priscilla, Joyce, which I think you're seeing tomorrow. We're recording this on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
What a great movie. Just fantastic. One of Sofia Coppola's best.
I mean, you did your, typical Chris thing. As soon as you got out, you're like, my new fave, predicting it everywhere, trying to find a place for Jacob Elordi.
I can't find a room. I honestly can't find a room for them anywhere. I predicted in like Golden Globes. I think I would love to put Kaylee Spaney in for Best Actress. I think it's a really wonderful performance. We talked about that when she won the Volpe Cup, how like Emma Stone would have clearly won for Poor Things if Poor Things hadn't won feature or Best Film there, the Golden Lion. But I actually think it's not as cut and dry, I think, as I thought when I saw it happen, now that I've seen the movie, because she's so good in it. It's like a really, really great performance. And I'd say she's as good as Emma Stone is in Poor Things at times. And while I think I do think Emma Stone is slightly better if we're trying to rank them, I don't think it's like that much daylight. So I just loved her, and I thought it's a wonderful performance. So good.
Yeah, I mean, I never expected her to be not good. And everyone I know who's seen it really likes her in it. I've always had her in at the Globes.
I have her in at the Globes too. I don't think I have Jacob in at the Globes, though. I'd also love to put him in. He's great. I just think he's a great actor. But it just doesn't seem like something that would get nominated, though I think the way they depict Elvis is really interesting and like thoughtful, and it would be easy to simply villainize him or valorize him, as we saw in like the other Elvis movie. And I think there's a version of this movie that would be very, very like obvious and make him like a clear evil monster who's like grooming Priscilla. But because of the fact that Priscilla Presley in real life is like, it wasn't like that, it creates a more nuanced portrayal of Elvis, even though it shows a lot of just like not troubling behavior, or just like he's not obviously a great presence in the film, but he's not also like a straight up villain. I think that's like testament to way.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of a lot of what, especially when the first like teaser trailer was released. I think that's what a lot of people wanted. Also, like coming off of Elvis last year, and like just all like, they didn't show like how he groomed her and everything, and it was like, oh, Sophia's gonna go there with this. And I've always felt like she will make it a bit more nuanced than that.
Nuance is not something people enjoy. We're seeing that with like Flower Moon as well in the discourse on that. People want to be told that bad people are bad. And
they want things to be black and white. So,
and real life is not really like that. And Sofia Coppola, coming from like her background, is a person who has always been like a more nuanced version of this. And like kind of like you could just see that in the movie. The movie's incredibly great. I actually think it's her best movie since Lost in Translation, which is like pretty dumb. But like I'm not the biggest Sofia Coppola fan. Like I love Lost in Translation. I think Marie Antoinette is pretty great. I was pretty underwhelmed by like Bling Ring. On the Rocks, I didn't think was super great. Beguiled, I'm fine with. Not like my fave. But like this is great. I just think this is so good. And it's all the all the production design, the costumes, everything is like absolutely perfect. And I would love to put it in elsewhere, but I don't even know where to. I can't really find room for it
So
because
you
there's
didn't
so
put
many
it in anywhere at the Oscars, not even like screenplay.
nowhere. I just can't find room for it, and I'm not sure that people will like embrace it. Though maybe they will. I mean, I think cinematography and costumes should be really in play. Costumes, though, I have Poor Things, Barbie, Kills the Flower Moon, The Color Purple, and Wonka, which is LOL. But I mean, like that feels like maybe a real thing. So I don't know. I guess I could put it in costumes and take out Wonka, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I have it in anywhere either. So yeah. Yeah, it's like we always talk about like how top heavy the above the line categories are, but it's the same below the line too.
When you have movies that are like this many big movies, I feel like it really does not, it just like kind of takes up all the room. It feels like, like, I mean, like we said, Barbie, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, and Kills Flower Moon could conceivably get every below the line nomination, right? Pretty
Well,
much.
not every, most of them.
Most of them, like production design, they could all get. Costumes, they could all get.
And you have,
Cinematography, they
like
could all get.
Maestro in there.
I mean, it's like a
Like
lot.
I dropped Maestro from costumes.
I did too, and it's crazy that I did. I mean, maybe I should not have Wonka in, but I just looked at the Wonka costumes and I was like, this is like a right down the middle
I
costume.
have Wonka in. It could totally just be, like the costuming nominee.
Yeah.
That's like not a huge player elsewhere that we've
I mean,
seen.
the top five, like I said, are the top five I have: Barbie, Poor Things, Killers, Color Purple, and Wonka. Then the next five are Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Maestro, Priscilla, and Chevalier. Get that
Wow.
Chevalier hive out.
You know what? Like that's one people have seen because it's been out for so long.
Yeah, tough category, but I would love to see Priscilla get in somewhere. What about screenplay?
I mean, I asked if you put it in there, and you said you didn't.
Didn't. No, I did not. I guess it would have to be original or adapted.
Well, it's adapted because it's based on her book or adapted from her book.
It's adapted, but we have it, I think, in original. So what do we know? I guess.
Mm.
But either way, I wouldn't have it in based on the list.
I mean, well, adapted is the tougher category.
If it's actually eligible for original, it could compete with Origin and a lot of other movies for that last spot. Because original, I feel like, is the Holdovers, Barbie, Past Lives, and Anatomy of Fall are pretty set, assuming Barbie actually is allowed to get nominated here while it campaigns here.
Yeah, like I can see the Academy bumping that and also Origin to adapted.
I have made December in, that's in sixth. Maestro's in fifth in the odds. So if you have the top five right now, are Holdovers, Past Lives, Anatomy of Fall, Barbie, and Maestro.
I have Air.
Maestro, a new trailer came out this morning, Joyce.
It did. Yeah.
Looks great. We've seen it, but the trailer looks good.
I mean, I really like Maestro, so.
I do too. I just think of all the nominations Bradley could get, I think screenplay would be the bottom one for me because I think it's a stronger, even below director.
More than director.
I think he'd actually have a better shot getting in director because I do think it's like really well directed. And I think when people see it, I think the screenplay is not by any means weak, but I think it's like the weakest of those potential nominations, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess his issue is that director is the tougher category.
Yes.
Than screenplay.
Yes, so. That's true too. Should we do some emails now?
Are you gonna talk about your third viewing of Killers of the Flower Moon?
Well, let me read an email on our Flower Moon, and then we could do the third viewing. All right. So this one's from Arthur. Emailed us at slugfests@goldderby.com. Hello, Chris and Joyce. Big fan of the show. While watching and loving Killers of the Flower Moon, I could not help but wonder that this is exactly the type of movie you don't want people to think they can wait until it hits streaming to watch at home. Not just because of the undeniably epic scale, but also because long movies feel even longer outside the theater with all the potential distractions, doubly so for the intentionally uncomfortable watch like Killers of the Flower Moon. I know Apple is giving a full theatrical release, but the Apple Association still makes me feel like still makes it feel like less of an essential theater movie than something like Oppenheimer. Do you think we will see sentiments for this movie be a bit more muted once it starts being seen primarily by an at-home audience? That's from Arthur.
Do you want to talk about your third theatrical experience, this time with the people?
So Joyce, I don't disagree with what Arthur's saying, but I will just say this. I saw Killers of the Flower Moon for a third time this weekend, went to an AMC on Long Island, Roosevelt Field Mall. Joyce.
Oh, Roosevelt, I haven't been back there in a bit, but I drove past it the other day.
Lovely, lovely theater, lovely seats, big reclining seats.
Were you upstairs?
Yes.
Or downstairs?
Upstairs. Afternoon showing, about 3:30, so we could get,
And then you went to Roosevelt Field for dinner, or do you go elsewhere for dinner?
We ended up going to Capitol Grill for dinner.
Oh, of course, right there, right next door.
A 7:30 reservation after a 3:00 movie, so you can know how long it is. Sit through the trailers, great, pretty nice crowd, good attendance.
Not sold out, but pretty full.
Maybe it's sold out. Like I said, the seats are so big, you're kind of lost in these AMC seats. I don't know when the last time you went to an AMC was, but they're huge. These reclining seats.
Well, yeah, like that theater has been completely renovated. It's very nice now. So
very nice. But one thing I would suggest in the future renovations would be soundproofing, because about 20 minutes into the movie, as loud as what's up?
Eras Tour?
As loud as fucking hell. Like you were in the Eras Tour in the movie and just blasting through the wall through Killers of the Flower Moon, feedbacking the screen, the vibrating, ready for it. Are you ready for it? As like Leo is like, I love money. That kind of shit. It was just
that is
unbelievable.
a think up for that scene though. Like that needle drop for that scene is great. Because there were a lot of tweets this weekend basically about saying the same thing. Is like, I watched Killers of the Flower Moon the way Marty intended for me to be seen, with Eras Tour blasting in the theater next door.
So I will say, like, so from a theatrical experience, I guess I would say it's not the greatest, because based on the surrounding circumstances. And I think if a lot of people are watching it that way, they're just going to be like, this is like LOL.
Or just pray your theater is not next to a showing of Eras Tour.
Yeah. I was like, so that was interesting. And I would say, like, most people stayed sitting and only got up a few times to go to the bathroom. I only saw a couple of phones lighting up, that kind of thing, but they were respectful for it. They oohed and, like gasping at a couple of violent moments, right, that are a little bit of a surprise. I think in the beginning of the movie, there's a sequence where the Molly character is narrating a classic Scorsese fashion, like a montage of some of the deaths. And then there's one with a mom that really takes people by surprise, it seems like.
A baby carriage. Yeah.
The baby ends up being okay. We'll talk about spoilers about this movie too in a minute, because I have another email. And then after the movie, all my friends, these are pals I've known for many years, Joyce. 3 decades, 4 decades, 20, more than 25 years. Love Scorsese movies. A little bit muted on the takes.
What were their reviews?
One of my friends had read the book and loved the book and thought it was great and loved that the book is like a twisty whodunit type thing.
Mm-hmm.
The movie's not that. So he was like a little off his footing, but thought it ended up being good. Another one of my friends thought that Leo was not great and thought while the length was good, it wasn't too long. It felt really repetitive in the end.
Yeah.
And I get this sense, and then we were talking and I got to be like, little know-it-all guy being like, well, they reworked the screenplay because it was supposed to be Leo.
Let me tell you guys, if you haven't been following the press tour,
because most normal people probably don't know.
Regular people do not know any of this stuff.
And they were like, wow, Leo is going to play the Tom White character. That would have been a good movie. And I was like, well, so they were like not surprised to hear that it was like tweaked. But it's a good movie. I tell you what, we joked last week I was going to come in and change it and put it in top and everything. And I did not do that.
And you didn't move any. Wow. Are you a fan? That's so unlike you.
The only thing I thought of, I'll tell you the 2 things I thought of were I still think Leo is like on the cusp, but I kept him in. And B, I really do think Lily Gladstone can win, because even my friends were like, she's incredible in it. And one of the things I got watching it for a third time, it's just laughable, is that while we both agree that I think it's more of a supporting performance because the movie is centered on Ernest, a lot of the stuff in the back half that felt where she's like not in the movie a lot, right? Because she's sick and in bed, it did not, it's actually not as long as I remembered, I guess I would say. She's actually not out of the movie as long as I remembered.
Yeah, like my like take on the role, not her performance, like the role itself being supporting, doesn't really have much to do with screen time, because it's not all dependent on screen time. It's just
Right.
like narratively, like the POV is primarily Ernest, and
Yeah.
then he's just being pulled between these two people, Molly and his uncle, you know. So it's not like, I mean, if you count the minutes, she'll probably have more minutes of screen time than a lot of her competitors and Best Actress, because the movie is so long, but maybe the percentage might be smaller. So I don't know. I'm not going to math it here because I don't know how long she's in the movie.
Matthew Stewart could do it when it comes to Apple.
Yeah, he'll do it when it's on Apple. But no, like I've always thought she was really good in it. And again, the heart and soul of the movie.
Clearly.
And again, like whatever category she's in has nothing to do with whether or not you think it's lead or supporting. She could campaign wherever she wants, and I think she could win too, because it's also, she's obviously like Molly is the most sympathetic character in the movie by far. So,
and I think again, like I think it helps too that it's like for a lot of people, like I guarantee you, my friends never seen Certain
they
Women.
never saw Certain Woman. Wow, you don't say.
And so I think it's like a discovery where it's like, wow, this is like, I don't even know who this is. And she's like kind of blowing Leo intentionally so off the screen, right? Because Leo's playing like a guy who's going to be pushed around, but like she's like really, really holding her own with like Leo and like people you've known for 30 years in movies and like have won Oscars. So I think like that alone could have her like really going far. I could easily see her winning still now. So I think I moved her up to second because I think I had Carrie in second. So I have
thought
Emma.
you moved her up to second last week.
Well, maybe I did, but I have her in second now. Yeah, and great. I mean, like, we'll see how it does throughout the rest of the box office, I guess, but it did okay, you know.
It was 23 million, which is what the tracking was. It got an A- cinema score, which is like, sure.
Which actually kind of surprised me, I guess, but I guess not if you're
gonna. That didn't really surprise me because I'm like, all like the Marty heads are coming out full force this weekend. So
the one thing I'll say about the movie, and again, I'm not gonna go against the GOAT. Marty knows what he's doing, and like they obviously the thing I really, not that you need 3 viewings, but every choice is like so intentional, and like every decision is like really pointedly made specifically for reasons, right? That I think are like pretty apparent if you watch the movie carefully. I will say like an issue I have with the back of the movie before like the great ending sequence is that once you go away, like the movie is so much about Molly and Ernest, and that last hour when Jesse Plemons shows up as Tom White is so far removed from that perspective, not just focusing on Ernest, but focusing on Ernest and Molly, that I do think while there's so much in that last hour that I really enjoy, it does kind of dilute the meaning of the movie in a way that I wish it didn't, I guess, or dilute like the kind of what he's saying in the first 2 hours that comes back around by the very end. But I'm like, man, I just wish it wasn't like so much of like, I just think you're pulling focus away from the important relationship in a way that maybe hurts the movie a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, they obviously had to like finish the story and like bring the FBI in at some point. And then like my thing with like that back half or like the last act, I guess, is that, you know, like there's no like actual ruse to the viewer, right? Like we know what they're doing. They're diabolical, they're evil, they're killing these people, right? It's genocide. And like there's nothing there, like your friend, you know, like there's no like mystery or whatever you want to call it to solve, like it is framed in the book, which it is from Tom White's perspective, really. So it's like we just see this like misery and devastation for like 2.5 hours. And like we know like the real story, like, you know, like they are gonna get arrested and, you know, they serve some time, Hale and Ernest. So it's not like, you know, like the bulk of the story of like, oh, like what is Ernest gonna do? Is he gonna like choose love or like fidelity to his uncle? Like he it's not like a fictional story where like the hero makes the right choice and he's going to choose his wife. He's going to choose love over evil. Like he doesn't do that. So there's no like, like happy ending or anything at the end. And then they still focus on him a lot, like with the trial and everything. And then you have this like long sequence with him in his jail cell, like with him and Jesse Plemons, and then like him and De Niro. And I feel like at that point when like, they get arrested and everything, it's like we could have shifted more back to Molly. It's like she was saved, they brought her back to health. We could have seen more of that. And instead, like your friend said, like we got like a lot of like repetition there of like Molly and Ernest just like meeting each other again. And I felt like that also kind of diluted the impact of their final scene together when she just has a complete mic drop moment with him. I felt like we could have seen more of stuff from like her perspective at that point when there's like no twist, happy ending or anything with the case at all, and then I felt like we got a lot of just focus on Ernest, of him having, complicated feelings about his marriage and like what he's doing, and like we don't really get a ton of that from Molly during the marriage. Like I found her feelings so much more interesting towards him beginning of the movie before they got married. Like that the whole dinner scene, the iconic dinner scene, just great.
And I like all of this. I agree with everything you said, and I'm like, but I know I also understand. Like, I think the intention is to have the audience who is mostly like non-indigenous, right, watching this movie,
like mostly white,
and mostly white, watching it and sitting there with Ernest, because I think the movie, like so many of Scorsese's best movies, and especially a lot of the late ones, this is one of the things with Wolf of Wall Street where I think like people were mad about it, is because they're being indicted, because like you're watching it and you're like, I live in a capitalist society that wants me, and I want to make money, and I'm watching this guy do it, and then actually I'm a piece of shit because I want this. And the way the movie Wolf of Wall Street ends with literally showing the audience watching enwrapped as Jordan continues to like push his financial, nonsense around, and like they can't wait to be a part of it. So the audience is really told like fuck off, basically, which I understand makes people mad. And so this movie as well, by sitting there with Ernest and like watching him like delude himself into thinking he's actually not doing anything wrong, and like delude himself into like all these things, you're basically, that is how we white people certainly live through life. And so like I understand it's not like the greatest ending for the movie or enjoyable.
Well, also the ending is like he's again doing the call out. It's like we're all complicit.
Yes. Here. So people don't like that. And so I get the sense that is why it's in there. That said, I do think like, especially it's not even like, so I do think that's the story that they wanted to tell. It's not like it's not, but I just, like you said, like to me watching it, the Molly stuff is so interesting, and Lily is so great, and so great with Leo, that you just wish. And the last scene is so good. Like you said, like her last scene with Leo in the back room of the courthouse is unbelievably good. And so to not have that in there for like 35-40 minutes where we're watching Leo kind of leapfrog between two sides.
Yeah. And then there's just like, the whole flip-flopping with like, will he or will not, testify, give up, state's evidence and everything. And, Brendan Fraser, a lot of play this weekend.
Boy, people really hated it and then loved it, and then backlash to that backlash. I don't know what to say. Yeah. I will just say
that we got a whole cycle in 48 hours. Just great stuff.
It is what it is. We've basically just spoiled, in quotes, this whole movie. So I want to read this one here. Spoiler reminder, please. This one's from Steve Purcell. Very lovely email. Called me out for this, and now we just kind of spoiled the whole movie, so I feel bad. So if you're watching this and we spoiled the movie, I apologize. Happy that Chris has seen Killers of the Flower Moon 3 times since June. That's how it starts. He should consider those commenters who haven't seen it yet or read the book in advance, which I seldom do. We would have enjoyed the chance to see Scorsese's possible masterpiece without knowing Leo's character murders his Osage wife's family. So if we said that, that's not actually true. He's complicit in their murders, I guess. He's not actually doing the murdering. He's just planning many of the murders, and not even all of them. That's why you have all the petty criminals. Not even all of the murders, because there are so many in the movie. But also, it's called Killers of the Flower Moon, and it is a real story. And then Steve continues, as a retired film critic, 25 years at the Tampa Bay Times. Congratulations, Steve. I was stunned by your thoughtlessness. In my 1993 job interview, I was asked how I'd handle the twist in The Crying Game I hit at the time. I knew the right answer then to get the job and have a wonderful career. Perhaps my advice can help you achieve yours. Sincerely, Steve.
Do you want to respond to Steve first?
I mean, I would say like the Crying Game and Kills the Flower Moon. You can't spoil history, and so to me, I wouldn't. If I told you that John F. Kennedy was assassinated in JFK, that's not a spoiler to me. And so if I tell you that this is a movie about the reign of terror in Osage, while it's not reported history that we learned in school, it's certainly history you're able to know and has been out there for many years. And so it's not a spoiler for me to say that these two men perpetrated many acts of violence against Native Americans and then were later arrested. That's not a spoiler to me.
No, it's not. And as I've said many, many times, and people are probably so sick of me saying it, history is not a spoiler.
Right.
It's just not. And it really, like, I've seen a lot of these types of reactions just over the last couple of weeks as, people have their, been tweeting about it from screenings and everything. And it's like the same kind of sentiment. It's like, you guys are spoiling the movie and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, because it's real life. You can't spoil real life. And I also think this reaction to a real life atrocity just underscores Marty's whole point at the end, that we're all complicit, that we've been silencing this story. Because I've also read, some reviews of this movie and just some general features or interviews where the writer was spoiler proofing this fact that these murders were perpetrated. And I'm like, you don't need this here, because this is real life. You don't spoiler proof history. It's like, I mean, I will bet $1,000 that no review of Lincoln ever spoiler proof. Like, Lincoln gets assassinated at the end. No one did that, because we all know that. We were all taught that. We, unfortunately, were not taught about the reign of terror. So it's underreported, unacknowledged in mainstream media. And so I understand that most people don't know about this, because it's just not common knowledge, unfortunately, that this genocide in our country's history. But it's still history, and it's not a spoiler to be like, yeah, this movie is about this thing that happened 100 years ago. Like it's not a spoiler to say the Titanic sank, in an iceberg. It sank.
I also think that like I'm pretty spoiler. I don't like to be spoiled on a lot of things. So like I appreciate this sentiment. Like if I was, for instance, The Crying Game, I think when the movie is built on a twist ending, certainly I would not want to know the ending.
Don't spoil that.
And even with Flower Moon, I would argue there's a moment at the end which I would say I would put a spoiler around, because I think the impact of how the movie literally ends is really cool and great to experience.
Like that is a spoiler. So that's the difference. That's what I was going to say next. Like the actual plot of these murders, not a spoiler, because it's real life. It's no different than if you're just talking casually with a friend and they're like, oh, by the way, I read this book, Killers of the Flower Moon, is about blah, 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 these murders. So like you learn about this and you learn it's like real life.
Right.
So it's like that happens in real life. We just talk to people or read about something casually and we learn about real information. But the ending of this movie is a spoiler.
I think so.
And I don't think we've actually spoiled the contents of that. Like we've talked around it. But as we've also talked about, some reviews also spoiled the actual content back in May after the Cannes premiere.
It's definitely out there. And
so
I would
that's
say like
a spoiler.
To me, that's a spoiler. Like, again, another movie I would think about, like Oppenheimer. Not a single thing in Oppenheimer is a spoiler.
No, and no one spoiler proof that. Like, we know what happened with the atomic bomb.
But I will say the very end of the movie is the most powerful part of the movie. And I would not want to spoil that specific conversation that happens right at the end, right? Like the last lines of the movie.
Right. It's not a spoiler to say that Strauss was not confirmed. That's history. Right. It maybe not common knowledge, but that's history.
But like the conversation at the end of the Oppenheimer with Einstein and Oppenheimer, the way the movie ends, I would not want to spoil, because I think like watching that unfold and not knowing it or not knowing exactly what they're going to say to each other is like incredibly compelling, and I would not spoil that. But I would say that like Strauss is not confirmed. Spoiler alert, I guess, right? Because like it's real life.
That's not a spoiler.
So anyway,
then also the other part is to I know like now these days, especially like people also don't watch trailers because they think those are spoilers. Like those are not spoilers. That is part of the marketing that the studio, like everyone agreed, like this is the stuff we're going to release to sell the movie to make people watch it. That's not a spoiler. If it's released to the public, people can talk about it. If you personally want to avoid it, that's on you, great for you. But you can't get mad if people around you watch the trailer and talk about it just because you personally chose not to talk about it. They're allowed to talk about it because it's out there. And also same thing with like interviews, like, you know, Marty is obviously the only person who's able to promote this right now. So he's literally talked about these murders in his interviews. If you watch Andy's interviews, I understand if you don't want to read interviews or watch interviews, but this is the log line of the movie. And he's talked about it. And like, that is information, again, history, information, public knowledge, but that's also something he wants you to know to sell the movie. So if he's talking about it, people are allowed to talk about it.
And like we said, the movie is not built as a whodunit based on the way it, maybe if the book was adapted straight as it was, like you could argue that there's going to be a twist, but like this movie from the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh, these are the bad guys. De Niro's corrupt. They're all gonna, you know, it's like, you know, everything, like they're not hiding anything. He's not hiding.
And then again, like the crying game thing, it's like I've written reviews before for shows, movies, like episodes of TV. Like I would never spoil actually something that's a spoiler before it's released to the public.
Right.
But I think once it's released to the public, it's fair game to talk about because it's out there and people want to talk about it. And then it's like, if you haven't seen it yet and you care about spoilers, it's up to you to police yourself because the world is not on your viewing schedule. But I would never intentionally spoil something plot-wise like the crying game before something's released.
Okay. Though even Siskel and Ebert argued about this because Siskel and I famously did spoil, I think, Crying Game when they did their Oscar show, which was
like I think that's a spoiler because that's like an actual twist,
kind of the whole movie.
So like you don't do that before it's out. Like you can like talk around and say like there's like a big twist. Like some people even consider that a spoiler, that you just tease a twist. People are very precious about spoilers. You know I don't care about spoilers. You can tell me anything.
I also think that like we could get off of this because we have so many emails to read. I also think that the idea of spoilers now are beyond, everything is like words have lost meaning and crossed culture, but I'm like, spoilers now, like you said, it's like a plot is not spoiler. The ending is a spoiler, or like a twist, or if somebody dies. Like, I'm not gonna, that's a spoiler, but I'm like, the story cannot be a spoiler. Not even for basic history. I don't think there's
history is not the spoiler. And the reason I don't care about spoilers, I actually wrote about this years ago. And then I got a lot of comments about it. Let me tell you, people were mad at me when I was like, I don't care about spoilers, but I really don't. Because to me, like, I think people are too focused on like the what that happens. Like they like want the surprise of that. And I care more about execution. Like if you tell me like the crying game twist, I'll just be like, oh, I can't wait to see that, to see like how they actually, you know, write it and carry it out. Like I don't care about the actual twist itself. Like I want to see how they execute it.
I also think like with a movie like Flower Moon, and one of the things I will say, and I think will be helpful throughout the season, I cannot remember the last time I've enjoyed thinking about and talking about a movie more than this. Like, and I think that also is like to credit to Scorsese, obviously, and like what he's doing. But I also think like that's why like spoilers are kind of like just silly about this movie, because it's not about what happens. It's about like how it's presented and like how you're kind of processing that information. So whatever. Joyce, next up here, an email from David L., one of our longtime emailers who is back. An email that's slugfest@goldenderby.com. Hey, it's David L. again. Hope you guys are doing well. I've sent so many emails that have gone unread. David, we have so many emails, I can't read them all. That's the problem. My questions this week are: why is Justified City Primeval, starring Joyce's celebrity crush Timothy Oliphant, categorized in a drama series instead of limited series? Is FX campaigning it as a drama?
Oh, to TV we have.
But starting with that, we're going to get back to
because it's the same characters from the OG Justified. So
that's why. It's like White Lotus style.
Yeah. So
my last question is, do you think Robbie Robertson could get a posthumous nomination for original score for Kills of Flower Moon? I saw the movie 3 times over the weekend, and now I'm listening.
Wow, he beat you.
And now I'm listening to the score a lot in the car, and it's just full-on banger themes all the time.
I think he can, and we can't predict it because that's one of the shortlist categories.
So even with the Eras Tour blasting through the wall, I would say like Robbie Robertson's score is awesome. It's so good. And
I mean, Osage Oil Boom, banger.
really great. And I do think like you said, we can't predict and we don't know how the branch will like whatever. I definitely think obviously it'll be eligible, I would imagine. I definitely think he can get nominated, and whether it wins, I don't know. I think it's again, like the top competition is gonna be like Oppenheimer probably, and maybe Poor Things, and like, you know, all these other movies that we've been talking about. So it's a competitive category already without knowing the short list, but I can definitely see him winning.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, Key and Marty were longtime friends, and that's also been a talking point on the press tour as well. And yeah, like Apple has also been pushing him, you know.
Yeah.
So I think he'll get in. I don't know about winning. I think Oppenheimer still has the edge.
Me too.
Probably.
But it's a good score. And then one last bit from David here. This, I guess, is to me. Thank you for putting Leo back in. I'm confident he will get in because he's the last true movie star, and he has so much support from the industry. Even in tight races, he got in for Wolf of Wall Street and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Leo, Bradley Cooper, and Cillian Murphy are definitely all locked for Best Actor, so don't take any of them out, Chris. I also agree with Joyce that Barbie is being overpredicted, and Greta is probably going to get snubbed for Best Director because cultural phenomenon doesn't mean Oscar love in every category. I don't agree with that.
All of it, or just the Barbie part?
I don't agree with the Barbie part. I actually think Greta is like almost getting safer and safer. I feel like there's a lot of support among directors for her right now. And like, I think they will, even though the branch is tight and has not shown a historic love for women filmmakers, she will still get in. So
That, I mean, I think she can get in. I don't have her yet. So and then are you gonna remove any of those names from Best Actor between now and
well, I have Bradley winning, and I still think that's possible. I think Cillian would be an amazing winner, and I think Leo will get in because while I think on the face of it, there are times you're just like, I don't buy this, or not even I don't buy it, but like, is he right for this, or he's playing it too much? I do think the overall way the character is handled is like kind of brilliant, and that goes with Scorsese again too. And I think Leo will get a lot of credit for that as well. So I think he'll get in. It is a pretty incredible performance. I still think it's like his 5th best performance in a Martin Scorsese movie, though. So
it's definitely not his best performance ever.
no, I mean,
I think not surprising to me that of the 3 main actors in the movie, like his performance has been the most polarizing. Like it's like consensus Lily MVP, and then everyone's like De Niro's back, baby, and then Leo just like he's amazing. It's like that was awful.
So I will say this, just as a sidebar from De Niro, I watched Irishman this week, Joyce. I spent another 3.5 hours with Marty rewatching The Irishman on Monday night. And I'm one of those people who said, man, De Niro in Kills Flower Moon, better than he's been in years, maybe since The Intern. Certainly.
Intern, that should have been his number 3.
Certainly a long time. And then I watched Irishman. I was like, oh, right. He's fucking amazing in The Irishman, and like kind of like incredible and like really underrated in it, I think now. So while it's easy to be like, De Niro's hasn't been this good in years, it was like 4 years, and it was The Irishman, and he's great in that movie. So it's a funny thing. Even though he makes a lot of bad movies, Robert De Niro is still one of the greatest actors to ever live, and he's still doing great work. So there you go.
I think, yeah, like I liked him in The Irishman, but I think he's better here in Flower Moon than in The Irishman.
I think it's close, but I think you're right, but I don't think it's like a coin flip for me, honestly. He's like really good in The Irishman because there's so much, he's obviously like a cipher character, and like there's better performances around him. He's kind of like the Leo of Irishman because you're going to watch it and be like Pacino, right? Like they're so good. And then it's like, oh, De Niro, sure. But no, I think he does so much good stuff in The Irishman that is just like really underrated. We don't need to like relitigate Oscar season from 5 years ago or whatever, but 4 years ago, but he's really good in it.
The interesting thing is like I don't think any of them from Flower Moon moved up at all, like over the weekend.
I don't think so.
I'm sure some people like maybe moved up, like, but not enough for it to impact it overall.
My big takeaways, I guess, on the third time were Lily, I absolutely think could win, and I almost put her in first, but I haven't done it yet. Leo, I think will get in, And then De Niro is amazing. And what if he actually got snubbed? And I could easily see it, honestly, but I don't think he will. But I think he is like,
I feel like he'll get in, but I don't know about winning.
I don't think he would win. The reason I'd say he could maybe not get in, and again, is because like, I mean, right at this time when we were doing Oscar picks 4 years ago, I feel like people were very much predicting him for Irishman, right?
Well,
like,
yeah, like everyone was, and then he started not getting in.
And so, like, I could see a similar thing happening here only because, like, if there's more passion for like you forget comparing performances. Like if Charles Melton got in over De Niro, I would not be, I guess, completely shocked, because I think there could be a lot of passion for a performer like that who's either a discovery or doing something, versus De Niro, who's like a guy people maybe are taking for granted. Even though he's great in the movie, they still might put him like 3, 4, 5 on their list, right? And like maybe that hurts them in the end. I'm not suggesting that will happen, but I'm just saying, like, it would not surprise me if it did.
I feel like Charles or like those fringe contenders would just get the fifth slot.
Right. Instead of like Willem Dafoe, I guess.
Yeah.
Or Ruffalo. This one from our old friend Faisal, Joyce, emailed at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Chris and Joyce. In response to Joyce asking why I dropped Leo a week ago, you answered my question. Yes, it was because of Chris. Since then, I did put Leo back in.
Your impact.
Definitely not because Chris put it back in. And I moved Paul out. Anyways, my question is this week. Having seen the film, how do you think American Fiction's nominating ceiling looks like on a good day? Right now, I personally can see it getting picture, actor, supporting actor, actress. I haven't seen the film, so I don't know who to consider. Original screenplay and editing. Even then, I struggle to see a director nomination on the horizon, considering how competitive the field is this year and how auteur and internationally focused the branch is known to be.
I have it getting the 3 that I think a lot of people have: picture, actor, and adapted. But you put in Sterling K. Brown after we saw it last week.
I have Sterling K. Brown, and I actually put it in for editing too. So I have all 5 of these. I'm not convinced Sterling K. Brown could get in, but I do think if Sterling K. Brown gets in at SAG, it would be like a momentum thing that could kind of push him through. I don't think any of the other, I mean, my personal favorite, we have not talked about this and we don't need to yet because it doesn't come out for a while, but my personal favorite performance in the movie outside of Jeffrey is John Ortiz, who I think absolutely kills it. And like, it would be an amazing Oscar nominee, frankly, but I don't think anybody's taking that seriously or talking about him. And then I have it in for editing because I do think it's very funny. It's a good comedy, and it's really,
there are 2 like highly like invisible like editing moments in it,
and I think that will help it, and I do think that could get it in. We had another American Fiction question, so I'm just going to read it here because we could just do this quickly. This one was from Ryan, emailed us slugfest@goldderby.com. I see that some pundits are finally taking American Fiction seriously, even though it won TIFF. What's up with the delay here? The rest of us put it in our predictions a while ago. Yeah, I noticed that online this week. Joyce.
Ryan's on top of things, huh?
A couple of people on twitter.com, or I guess X. I'm never going to call
it.
No,
it's always Twitter. Yeah.
A couple people on Twitter were saying like, "Oh, this really came out of nowhere."
I think that was off the heels of it winning Middleburg on Monday. Audience.
We saw last week, and again, not talking about the movie in depth. I immediately put it in second place. I think it has like a legitimate shot to win Best Picture, and I think it could get like 4 or 5 nominations, like we just talked about.
Well, while I put it in those 3 categories right after it won TIFF.
Same.
So, but while I was watching it last week, I was like not even halfway through, I was like, it's so clear why this won TIFF.
Yeah,
and great choice, really. Because I don't agree with a lot of TIFF choices, but this was a good one. And yeah, I think it can definitely be like the I wouldn't say the little movie with a big heart, but just like the underdog that could surprise and maybe topple the big dogs. There are a lot of big dogs this year. It's not the same as like Coda versus Power of the Dog, And I think one of the things is that this movie was just completely not even under radar, just like off the radar. before festivals, right? I think you were one of the few, if not only, people who even had it in screenplay before festivals, right? So you were early adopter of American fiction.
I was.
And it was, a big surprise, an actual crowd pleaser hit at TIFF, and it won. So I think, most people didn't see this coming. So I think it's like starting off on the back foot, because like no one was talking about this movie 6 months ago, or no one had it into prediction. So now it's trying to like make that up. And then I've also, like, right after TIFF, I also saw some reactions that were like, maybe this is just a fluke when,
I don't think it is. And the thing I think that's interesting is, like, it's clearly, if we're like looking for an underdog movie this season, like, it feels like this is absolutely the one. The one thing I will say about it, and the reason I think it could actually win, even maybe actually not, because who knows, but I'm like, a lot of those underdog movies are corny, for lack of a better word, and this is like so not like that, right? Because it's like so very smart, and like Cord Jefferson is so plugged into like discourse culture, it feels like, certainly in his past as like a writer, then also from Watchmen and all these different things, that I'm like, it actually isn't corny, and it's like really smart in its satire. And I just think that is like puts it a level up, but maybe actually I should think it should put it a level down, because it is actually smart. So hopefully like the voters are smart enough to figure out it, or dumb enough to not realize that it's so smart.
But I also think it just like a very like it is very smart, and it's a very sharp satire, like just withering and hilarious. And I think there's like there's like a messaging that also just kind of appeals to white liberals, while also like taking shots at them.
Yes,
so
it's great. The satire, there's a great saying, and the object of satire does not have to actually know they're being made fun of. And that's this movie, I think. It's a White Lotus thing, I feel like, a little bit.
Except it's like more blatant here than in the White Lotus.
Yes.
It's like literally about this. So like you've seen the trailer. If you're trying to spoiler proof yourself, I haven't seen a trailer. It's all in the trailer. So
this one's from Caleb at slugfest at goldderby.com. Hi, Chris and Joyce. I finally got to watch Killers of the Flower Moon. What a film. I went with a few of my normie friends, you could call them, and they all unanimously thought Lily Gladstone was the best part of the movie. And from what I've seen online, most people would agree. Even my dad, who usually hates long movies, singled her out her performance. His first thoughts post-screening being she should win an Oscar. They were very confused when I brought up the fact that many people thought she was a supporting performance, when we all thought she had the lead performance. She had multiple moments where she was narrating in her POV. I was thinking about the men of the Academy specifically, and I think Lily will have an advantage when it comes to their vote. I think the sexist reality is that they would rather vote for the helpless women role, such as Molly, versus a cold performance like Sandra Huller, or a weird feminist role such as Emma Stone. That's from Caleb.
I don't think he's wrong.
I don't think he's wrong either, though I would say I don't think Molly is helpless at all.
No, I think she's
push back on that hard.
I think she's stuck.
She is stuck in her situation, but she is not helpless in her situation.
No, I mean, we see her, she goes to DC. She tries.
Well, she says in like that scene before when she's walking the train, she's like, I have evil around my heart. I want to kill all these white men who are killing my family. Literally says that. But
like she knows what's going on. She definitely suspects, if not knows something, or maybe she's like in denial or hopes, it's not true. Like it's so she tries to do what she can. She's just stuck in a very unfortunate circumstance.
Right.
So, but yes, in general, you're just kind of like surface level watching it. It's like, oh, she spends a lot of time sick in bed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, most people love her performance the best of the main three, like we've said. So, and it again, it's the most sympathetic character.
I will say, like, a lot of my friends do. I think when people watch the movie and then leave it, and then if she doesn't win, I think people would be like 6 months from now when she doesn't win an Oscar, or if she doesn't win, people are gonna be like, that's stupid. Like, of course she should win. So I do think like she has the public sentiment even more than like Emma would or anybody else. I just think it's like people watch the movie, they're like, well, obviously she's gonna win an Oscar. She's so good.
Right. I think I mean, this happens every time like a big movie comes out or like a contender comes out, like I think we also need to be mindful that we're just right in the honeymoon period right now with this movie coming out. And the general public has also not seen, you know,
Poor
most
Things.
movies. Like, yeah, Poor Things is not out yet, you know. Anatomy of Fall is out, you know, not wide really.
Right.
But so it's like she's great in the movie, so obviously she's gonna have these rapturous responses. But you know, we'll see, you know, like when things like settle to a more even playing field with everyone, like what it's like. I can see her, you know, sweeping, like we've said, like SAG is probably the trickiest, but if she's just like on a steamroll, then she can win that too.
I got another Best Actress one, Joyce. This one's from Ewan, not from Succession, just regular.
Oh.
Love the show. First time caller. Bit of a cliche to say that lead acting categories are strong this year. While I could see any of your top 6 lead actors contenders pulling off the win, I'm struggling to envision any of the actresses actually winning. Annette Bening might have come into the season as the one to beat, but given her film has got notably worse reviews than all the other contenders, it seems unlikely that this film will be finally her time. Natalie Portman and Emma Stone will be both trying to pull off a second win on their 4th nomination. I might have just missed the memo about them now being regarded as on that level, but I personally don't quite see it and suspect even they would be wary of a second Oscar, giving more swank than Streep, and in front of Bening, no less. Lily Gladstone and Sandra Huller will both have a lot of new fans with sufficient previous work to have put them in some Academy voters' radar, but have to be classed as this year's newbies. I'd be very happy with them both to get nominated, but I struggle to see any real precedent for the statue being handed out to either a supporting performance by a newcomer, or a foreign language performance. I know 51% is in English, etc. Can's favorite, right? Carey Mulligan may be the critically acclaimed nominated but never won Sweet Spot, but the trophy still seems like a stretch. Can the main contender from a Leonard Bernstein biopic really be his hitherto largely unknown wife? It's not exactly June Carter Cash winning over a weak field. I just can't see her winning ahead of Bradley anyway. Even then, if he manages to come through as the frontrunner and actor, well, the Academy support for a film might not even be a Best Director top 5, get both lead prizes. For Margot Robbie, much of Barbie's charm is that so much of it is stronger than it has any right to be, but lead actress win for a doll is bordering on parody. Fantasia is obviously an unknown factor, but was always going to have to be fantastic to get in. Also, I've not heard it mentioned, but her role seems to have been cut down, given it is now shared with separate young Celie in the cast. Hardly a good sign. Greta Lee, she's nice. The film is nice. I just don't see it lasting all the way to the finish line or even nominations. So I've rambled long enough. It's almost like Ewan's speech for eulogy. I guess I've forgotten Kaylee Spaney, Anjanae Ellis-Taylor, and Jodie Comer. I'm sure one of them could pull a Riseborough, but not a Yo. Thoughts? Who do you think we're underestimating? Can you foresee any sweeping top 2 battle late surge? And any chance Vanessa Kirby surprises everyone and pulls a late stage switcheroo gambit? So much there from Ewan.
Jodie Comer question mark?
I'm not gonna put her in. I'm not write that one in.
Well, it might not even be out, maybe.
Light pencil.
I mean, I feel like we've talked about this before and how it's like highly competitive for the slots, but I can see, like, I don't think it's locked. Like, I have Emma in first, but I don't think she's locked, and I can make a case for a lot of people winning. So
I would say from an underestimating standpoint, I do actually think Kaylee Spaney is being underestimated, but I also don't see how she would get it.
For the nomination or for the win? For
the nomination. I don't think for the win, but I think it's possible that she could get it nominated. But I don't think for the win. I also think Anjanae Ellis-Taylor, even though the movie has gotten not the greatest response, though it was won some fans at TIFF, I think she's got enough of a, good performance and a lot of support, I think, in the industry. She can maybe get nominated, but not win. I don't think either. So I don't
know. But he's asking about the win. So like, I mean, I think, the Nayat reviews, so it opened limited last week.
Yes.
It's hitting Netflix on the 3rd. But I think it got it doesn't have raves, but the reviews are fine. Like, it's, it might be mixed, but there were still some like solid reviews for it. And Annette's reviews have always been good. So like, I don't think she needs the movie to get into Best Picture. for her to get in either. I don't have her winning, but I think she can get in. And like, I think I talked about this last week, like she's basically the only one who, you know, is an elder stateswoman here. So she has like that demo.
And
herself.
That's why I kind of put her in. And that's also why I actually think she could win, because she might be the only one with that kind of support, but who knows? I don't think she's going to win either, but I did put her back in. I still have Margot in for Barbie. I guess I could drop her for Sandra in the end.
For a doll.
For a doll.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna touch my 5.
I
for a
only
while,
touch,
probably.
I mean, I'll wait to see how Color Purple is and like see.
Yeah.
I do think that's interesting though. It's perhaps that that they split the role in half. I have not seen the Broadway show, but if it's like a young, if that character is that is one actress in the whole show, and now the movie has obviously a young actor who's prominent enough to be in the trailer heavily playing that same role.
Well, they've also, like, we know from the New York Times story last month that they also added additional scenes for Fantasia, like Chicago style, like in her mind, you know, so we don't know.
A couple more, I guess I want to do. Slugfest at goldderby.com. This is just a fun one, Joyce. From Eric. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Longtime listener, first-time questioner. I've been following Gold Derby since the year of Birdman, when I went all in on a boyhood sweep, the Academy Awards.
Was that you?
It could have been. Since then, my predictions have thankfully improved, thanks in large part to your analysis. I have one question for you this week. You've been asked before what actor or director who's been perennially snubbed you would like to see finally win their Oscar. So I ask a slightly tweaked question. What craftsman below the line do you think deserves it after a storied career? In other words, who is the new Roger Deakins now that Roger Deakins is a 2-time Oscar winner? Roger Deakins, and not always the bridesmaid Roger Deakins. This question was partially inspired by your discussion about the legendary Chris interviewee Jack Fisk. And one caveat here, don't pick Diane Warren. That's from Eric.
Wow, rude. So Diane could get another nomination this year for that 80 to Brady song.
Uh-huh.
Just reserving a slot for her right now. I'm telling you right now. I guess, well, the first name that came to mind was Thomas Newman.
Right. That's a good one.
So
I was gonna say Carter Burwell.
We talked about this with I guess last year with Oscars Playback and how he didn't win for American Beauty.
Kind of shocking he didn't win for American Beauty. I was gonna say Carter Burwell would be mine.
Oh yeah, another good one. There's a lot of composers.
There's a lot of composers, frankly.
I mean, I would just say, you know, personal favorite, Bertel.
I mean, Bertel, not a lot of work yet, right? Like in
but like bangers.
Like, certainly all bangers all the time. Yeah, I think I would mostly go composers. And then if we could go back in time, maybe, let me think. Hang on. I gotta see this.
Are we doing like dead people?
Maybe. I don't know. Should we do dead people?
I don't know. Well, it's not like they can't win anymore.
I mean, Michael Bauhaus would have been one I would have won. He's like my favorite cinematographer, and so I would have said him. He never won, but what are you gonna do? Not even nominated for Goodfellas. Nominated for Fabulous Baker Boys, Broadcast News, and Gangs of New York.
You know, we always talk about people who won the Oscar for the wrong movie, but what about people who are nominated from the wrong movie?
It happens. It could happen again this year.
It's like Paul Giamatti, Cinderella Man, and not Sideways. He's great in Cinderella Man, but you know, makeup nom.
Let's see. We've gone on a long time. Not Flower Moon long, but certainly long. Let's do 2 more, maybe 3 more. This one's from Tony. Hi, Chris, longtime viewer, first time caller. We just keep rolling in with these emails. My question is about the eternal nail biter of a category, Best Picture. I was wondering if people were discounting entries like Past Lives or maybe even Barbie too soon because of the fact that more often than not, Best Picture winners recently have tended toward the movies that end happily or leave audiences with a strong emotional catharsis, as opposed to the more grim, introspective, or artsy kind of ending. I'm thinking of races like Coda surprisingly rallying against Power of the Dog, Green Book surprising against Roma, and 1917 being everyone's frontrunner despite the downer of an ending and ending up losing to Parasite. Not exactly a happy ending, but an emotionally cathartic one. As far as this year, Barbie might be a bridge too far as an alternative for the very serious Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon, but underestimating Past Lives. I don't know how Poor Things or The Holdovers end, but perhaps those. Love the show. Thanks for carrying the Oscars torch at Gold Derby for the last several years. And justice for Mike Feist. That's from Tony.
Not a great year for him because both his movies were delayed.
So we could spoil Poor Things and
maybe,
Holdovers, I guess, now if we want, just for Steven, just tell him how those end. No, I don't think we're underestimating Past Lives. I think it's a very nice movie, but I was heartened. I kept it in my predictions, and I feel like very strongly that I think it will remain there in Best Picture, but it's very much the lower tier, though.
Yeah, I don't have it in currently.
And I think the movie that he didn't mention that I feel like would be an easy, obvious choice to me was American Fiction, which has like a buoyant ending, though it's coated in satire again.
Is it buoyant?
I think it's like a hilarious end. I think it's a hilarious,
it's a great ending. I love the ending.
And I think
a lot of good endings this year, like Flower Moon, American Fiction, Oppenheimer.
And I think Poor Things too has a very strong ending. And I think if you're, again, a doll movie is not going to go there. I think Poor Things is a great alternative for that. So it's interesting thinking of Oppenheimer and Flower Moon. Obviously they're going to be compared a ton. And I already saw people comparing them, and I was listening to podcasts where people are comparing them. And I think Marty always gets the benefit of the doubt for every choice he makes. And people still think Christopher Nolan is not as serious as a filmmaker as maybe he is, and think that certain things just happen by osmosis or not intentionally in Oppenheimer. That said, the Oppenheimer ending, while equally crushing, I think still leaves you on like I don't know what the end. I don't know how I would describe the ending. I mean, Flower Moon, I think, is like a sad ass ending, right? Like for a lot of reasons, for like the way the movie ends, for the history, for the fact that it's for the Marty of it all, like all those things kind of wrap into one. And Oppenheimer isn't really like that. It doesn't end on like a buoyant moment. It ends on like a holy shit moment, though. And I think that is like a little different than the sadness of Flower Moon. Am I crazy or no?
No, I think we talked about this a couple months ago, maybe in like our August episode, and how like like Oppenheimer doesn't have an uplifting ending, but it's still a very like I don't even know if emotional is the right word. I mean, it is emotional, the ending, but it's like it's powerful, and you do want to talk about it after the movie's over with your friend. You walk out and like you conversation about it. And like the same thing with Flower Moon, but I do agree that ending is more of a downer than Oppenheimer's. But it's kind of it's not, I wouldn't say it's like the same as like No Country for Old Men. Like that's not uplifting.
No. Either.
But I don't think like Oppenheimer's is like totally bleak. It's just kind of like makes you think, sort of thing. And
I think so.
I mean, like Flower Moon makes you think too, but yeah, it's like real life, just devastating, crushing. Also makes you think, but I wouldn't put them on the same plane of like not happy endings.
No.
But I also think the way Flower Moon ends, even though it is like overall sad, I think it like the way Marty does it is just like you're sort of wowed by it. Although I have seen some people not be really into that ending, so that choice. But
last one's here, Joyce. This one's from Jack. We're gonna take a little sidetrack here to sports, Joyce. The Phillies blew it in Game 7. How excited are you that you won't have to see them in the World Series again? And also, who do you think is going to win, Arizona or Texas?
I'm so thrilled when they went to the Game 7. I was like, they're going to lose.
Loved it. I loved it so much. I got to say, though, I was like, I don't really care about the Phillies. I can't figure this out. I think because they were always such fucking losers and never took them seriously as a team for so many years compared to the Braves that I was just like, who cares? So I can't get that worked up about them, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, we talked about this, I don't know when it was, like 2 weeks ago, when, they were again still playing the Braves. Like I never cared about the Phillies growing up either. Like obviously I wanted them to lose. But it changed for me when I went to college, because that was the team
Right.
that all my college friends, the locals, backed. So then I just like basically really started hating all the Phillies team or the Philadelphia teams. So yeah, but I do hate the Braves more. So I was glad that they lost. And then that the Diamondbacks came back and won, underdog.
Who do you think?
I don't really care about either of them, or Diamondbacks or Rangers. I don't really
couldn't care at all.
Yeah, I haven't watched a lot of postseason.
No, I haven't either.
So
yeah. And then another sports one, Joyce. This one was from Liz.
You just spoiled it. Another Mets.
No, this one's about the Mets. Word on the street that the Mets are not looking to hire from within to replace Buck Showalter. Who do you think their next manager should be? Joyce, have you been following this?
I believe that was a story in The Athletic last week.
Yes.
The streets were saying that are not the calls coming from outside the house.
Totally fine with that. Bring on Craig Counsell.
I think that's the top pundits pick.
Yes.
Especially after Buck stepped aside a couple weeks ago. So
and they said Buck could go to the Angels, which Godspeed.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck to you, Buck, with that loser team. Those are our emails at slugfest@goldderby.com. Joyce, that's it. I guess we'll be back next week and we'll have more fun stuff to talk about. Figure out. What do you think?
Next week we'll be getting into November.
Can't wait. Maybe talk about The Killer next week. Or maybe not.
Yeah, it's out
November 10th.
Limited,
so not The Killer.
Yeah, but it's out limited this Friday.
We could do maybe
some people can see it this weekend.
Yeah, we could do Naiad next week.
Yeah, Naiad is Netflix next week.
Can't wait to get into that one. What a thrill.
Love Jodie Foster, man.
Great. We'll talk to you then. Bye.